Hello dear students, I am Professor Priya Kulkarni from Parvatibai Genba, Mose College of Engineering, Wagholi, Pune. In this lecture, we will discuss about the end block design. Okay, end block design part. Okay, first of all, we will see what is end block. Okay, and why we have to design that end block. Okay, I'll show first the sketch. Okay. Just see, this is one pre-stressed girder or pre-stressed beam which is cast. Okay, now here what I have marked is end block. Okay, this is the beam part. Okay, this is the beam part, and this part over here is the end block. Now what is special in that end block, or why there is a need to design for this end block? End block is designed for in this particular end block we have larger transverse stresses. Okay, in post tension construction, the pre-stressing force is transmitted to the concrete through the relatively small anchorage plates behind the anchorages by bearing. Okay, this results in very high concrete bearing stress behind the anchorage plate. Now what is anchorage plate? We'll see one by one. Okay, now can you see this plate? This is the anchorage plate. Okay, we'll put this particular anchorage plate over here. In that anchorage plate we have our tendon part. Okay, we put our cables or tendons, and then we apply a calculated amount of pre-stress. Okay, now this is the jack, or this is the anchorage part. Okay, there we have a hydraulic jack. Okay, by the hydraulic jack we apply a calculated amount of pre-stress over to the particular this given beam section. Okay, but what happens in the area behind this anchorage plate, the stresses are very more. Okay, so there can be chances of flared region, or there can be chances of wear and tear after some days after applying pre-stress. Okay, so we have to take care of this part specially. Okay, we have to take care of this part specially. Okay, this part. Now is it clear then why we have to design for end block and what is end block? Okay, to avoid the wear and tear, or to avoid the flared sections, we have to just take care of this particular special part. Okay, now failure of anchorage zone, that part is known as anchorage zone, and that that steel plate or iron plate is known as anchorage plate. Okay, the failure of anchorage zone is perhaps the most common cause of problems arising during the construction. Such a failures are difficult and expensive to repair and might require replacement of entire member. Okay, this is very important from economic point of view and from repairing point of view. If some damage happens, or if some wear and tear happens to this section, then we have to repair overall member. Okay, overall the particular beam or particular girder. Okay, we cannot repair the particular part, we have to repair the entire member, which is very expensive and it is very time consuming. Once we put that particular beam or girder, then it is very difficult to take it back and then repair and then put it back. Okay, so we have to take care of that particular anchorage zone. Okay, anchorage zone failure due to uncontrolled cracking or splitting of the concrete from insufficient transverse reinforcement. Bearing failures immediately behind three anchorage plates are also common and may cause inadequate dimensions of bearing plate and poor quality of concrete. This is very important. So why we have to design for anchorage zone and its necessity is explained here. So the bearing failures immediately behind three anchorage plates. What do you mean by behind the three anchorage plate? Now see here. Here in this picture, sorry, in this picture, we'll put this is the first, this is second, and this is third anchorage plate. Okay, and behind this anchorage plate, if the anchorage plate fails, then concrete will spill out from the transfer reinforcement. Okay, this is transverse reinforcement, this is longitudinal reinforcement, this is transverse reinforcement, and from this transverse reinforcement the concrete will come out. Okay, the spalling of concrete will happen. Okay, and also the dimensions of the uh, anchorage plate will become more or less, and the quality of concrete at that particular anchorage part will become poor. Okay, so this is the end block diagram. Okay, now we have to design means what we have to do extra. Okay, there are simple clauses there in the IS code. We'll see those clauses also, and we'll see what is the special criteria to design this anchorage zone. Okay, I will tell you about the anchorage zone and its necessity. A pre-tension member without anchorage. Okay, without anchorage, the stress in the tendon of post-tension member attains a pre-stress at the anchorage block. There is no requirement of transmission length or development length. Okay, the end block of the post-tension member is a flat region which is subjected to high stress from the bearing plate next to the anchorage block. It needs special design of transverse reinforcement. Okay, we have to design a special transverse reinforcement or separate transverse reinforcement. The stress in the field in the end zone of post tension member is complicated. The compressive stress trajectories are not parallel at the ends. The trajectories diverge from the anchorage block till they become parallel. Now we'll see the stress distribution. Okay, in this diagram. Okay, this is the anchorage plate. Okay, sorry, this is the anchorage plate and this is bearing plate. Okay, see here, this is the bearing plate and this is the amount of pre-stress. Okay, this force, this arrows is the amount of pre-stress that will apply on this part. Okay, now what is the stress distribution, how the stress trajectories travel? Here they are in the starting of the part, the compressive stress trajectories are not parallel, and at the ends they will get parallel. Okay, so this is the stress distribution for the end block, and then the particular beam part is straight, then the stress trajectories are also become parallel. But in this section the stress distribution is not parallel. Okay, we have to take care of this section. So for this particular part, uh, Saint Venant. Okay, this is Saint Venant's principle. We have we have come to know this name in our MOS or in our SA1 subject also. By Saint Venant's principle, stress distribution in a member is reasonably uniform away from the anchorage, but in the region of anchorage itself, that is D region, the stress distribution within the concrete is complex. The most significant effect for design is the tensile stresses are set up at the transverse axis of the member, tending to split this concrete apart. Reinforcement must be provided to contain these tensile stresses. Okay, that's why we are going to design. That's why we are going to design the particular end block. Okay, so this is the stress distribution diagram for the end block, and this is the nature of stress. It will get higher in this part where stress trajectories are complicated here. Okay, they are not parallel, or that they are not in a simple way. Okay, this is the complex stress distribution curve, and for this stress distribution curve we have to design. Okay, there is a maximum stress. Now we'll come to know one type of force, that is bursting force. Okay, bursting force is the maximum force. Okay, where the particular pre-stressed concrete is going to burst if we have not taken care of that particular tensile reinforcement. Okay, that will burst and concrete will come out of that. Now we'll see the IS code clause for the bursting force and for the end block. Okay, I'll go with the IS code. So this is IS code 1343 2012, page number 26. So here we have the clause for bursting stress and transmission length. Okay, for our end block in a post tension member. All formulas are given here. Just we have to remember where we have to use the particular formula. Now clause number 19.6, consideration affecting design details. Transmission zone is in pre-tension members. We have pre-tension member and post-tension members. Okay, then what, first of all we'll see what is the transmission length. Transmission length is the length from which the pre-stress is transferred over a certain length from each end of the member, which is called as transmission length. Okay, which is known as transmission length. Pre-stress is transferred from one end to the another end of a member over a certain length is called as transmission length. The stress in the tension is zero at the ends of member. It increases over the transmission length to the effective pre-stress FPE under service loads and remains constant beyond it. Okay, so transmission length is the length over which the pre-stress is going to be transferred. Then transmission length needs to be calculated to check the adequacy of pre-stress in tendon over the length. The section with a high moment should be outside the transmission length so that tendon remains at least the design effective pre-stress FPE at the section. Transmission length depends upon several factors that are type of tendon such as wire, strand or bar, what we have used for the pre-stress transfer. Okay, bar, wire or strand. Then size of tendon, stress in tendon, then strength of concrete at the transfer, the place of cutting tendon like abrupt flame cutting or slow release of jack, means we transfer particular pre-stress and then we'll cut the pre-stressing wires. then how, in what manner, or from by which means we cut that particular tendons, like abrupt frame cutting or slow release of jack. This also matters. If we cut very abruptly or very uh, in very forced manner, okay, then it will affect the transmission length. Okay, we have to, or another part which is favorable, that is slow release of jack. Okay, so that is favorable case for transmission length. Then if effect of creep, compaction of concrete cover, okay, and presence of confining reinforcement. So these are the conditions that affect to the design of transmission length. Okay, then what I have told will cover in this part. Okay, the transmission length for sorry the transmission length depends upon number of variables, that is most important being strength of concrete at transfer, the size and type of tendon, the surface deformations of the tendon. Okay, the transmission length of the tendon towards the top of the unit is usually greater than at the bottom, right? The following values may be used provided the concrete is well compacted, detailing is as per relevant provisions in the standard, and the strength at the transfer is not less than 35 Newton per mm square, and the tendon is released gradually. Okay, what I have told is covered in these two parts, these 2 points. Okay, what they have said, what IS code states, the concrete is well compacted, detailing is as per relevant provisions of the standard, and strength at the transfer of the pre-stress is not less than 35 Newton per mm square. Okay, we are going to use this stress only in the starting of the in the starting analysis of the pre-stressed concrete, if you remember. Then the tendon is released gradually. The tendon is have to be released gradually. There should not be abrupt releasing of the tendons or abrupt cutting of the tendons. Okay, it will hamper the pre-stressing phenomenon. Okay, for plain and intended wire, 100 into 5, 5 is the diameter of the tendon, 5 is the diameter of the tendon. For crimped wires it is 65 5, and for strands it is 35, 30 into 5, 5 is the diameter of the tendon. The development of stress in the tendon may be assumed to vary parabolically along the length of member. Okay, it is going to vary parabolically, we have seen in the diagram. For general guidance, it is recommended that one half of the transmission length shall overhang in the support in simply supported beam, and there is fixed sorry where there is a end fixing, the whole of the transmission length shall overhang. So these are the criteria for the transmission length. Now what is the bearing stress, or I have told you about the bursting stress, bearing stress and bursting force, or bursting stress. Okay, these two stresses that we have to consider. Now in clause number 19.6.2.1 they have stated about the bearing stress. On the areas immediately behind the external anchorage, the permissible unit bearing stress on the concrete, after accounting for losses due to relaxation of steel, elastic shortening and seating of the anchorages, shall not exceed 0.48 FCI under root ABR divided by A PUN, that is punching area, or 0.8 FCK, whichever is smaller, where FCI is the cube strength at the transfer, FBR is the bearing area, and FPN is the punching area. Okay, everything is there in the IS code, just you have to check. Okay, and you can use IS code in the exam also. So just please go through the IS code. If you forgot any formula, or if you forgot any symbol or anything, you will get in that IS code. But you have to know, you have to found where it is in the Hays code. Okay, it is in the page number 26, clause number 19.6.2. Okay, so we going to use this formula for calculation of bearing stress, and this is the criteria. So during tensioning, the allowable bearing stress specified in A may be increased by 25% provided that this temporary value not exceed FCI. Okay. Then we'll see this clause and we'll move to the bursting force. Okay, so everything is related with one by one. Okay, we'll see this C point. The effective punching area shall generally be the contact area of the anchorage device, which is circular in shape that we have seen in the diagram, shall be replaced by a square or equivalent area. I'll show you 1 minute. Okay, Hays code states that this, if we have, or if someone has used this anchorage plate that is square in shape, that is to be replaced with the rectangular or square one. Okay, this is the meaning of this statement. Okay, shall be replaced by a square of equivalent area. We have to convert square area into, sorry, if we have to convert circular area into square area of equivalent. The bearing area shall be maximum area of that portion of the member which is geometrically similar and concentric to the effective punching area. Okay, and I'll keep this part to you. You have to go through this part. Okay, what is important that I have stated here. Okay, if you have any doubt regarding these points, then you can contact me. Then we'll see about the bursting tensile force. Now, what is the bursting force? It is the force at the state that it will burst, the concrete will come out of that if we have not taken care of the transmission length or end block. Okay, the bursting tensile force in the end blocks or regions of a bonded post tension member should be assessed on the basis of tendon. We'll go to the page number 27, jacking load. The unbonded members of the bursting tensile forces should be assessed on the basis of tendon jacking load or load in the tendon at the limit state of collapse, whichever is greater. They have stated use annexure D for this clause. The bursting tensile force FBT existing in an individual square end block loaded by a symmetrically placed square anchorage or bearing plate may be derived from the equation below. So they have stated one equation and we are going to use this equation also. So this equation is FBST divided by P0 is equals to 0.32 minus 0.3 yp0 upon y0. Now this is the symbols notations. FBST is the bursting tensile force. FP0 is the load in the tendons assessed as above. See here. Okay. Then YP0 is the side of the loaded area and Y0 is the side of end block. Okay, side of loaded area is the YP0 and this side is Y0. end blocks, side of end block. The force FBST will be distributed in a region extending. This is very important. Okay, just remember this can be asked in multiple choice question also. Okay, the force FBST will be distributed in a region extending from point 1 y0 to y0 from loaded face of the end block. Reinforcement provided to sustain bursting tensile force may be assumed to be acting at its design strength 0.87 times the characteristic strength of the reinforcement. We take 0.87 F1, okay, that. Except that the stress should be limited to a value corresponding to a strain of 0.01 where concrete cover to the reinforcement is less than 50 mm. Okay. This is the criteria for the bursting force. And also they have stated points C, D and E, and accordingly will use the criteria. Okay, and in clause number 19.6.3.2 they have stated about the transverse reinforcement that is going to be required for the reinforcement. Now I will not let you bombard with the AS code. Okay, we will go in the PPT part. So for the bursting stress they have said that uh, the loaded side is taken as yp0 to yp0 and the end side is taken as y0. Now here y0 is the half side of the end block and yp0 is the half side of the loaded area. Okay, this is the bursting force here. This is the bursting force, maximum force. Now we have to design our end block for bursting force. Okay, I think you have got one idea about what is the transmission length and what is the bursting force and what is the uh, what is the bursting force and what is the uh, pre-stressing force. Okay, in the next session we'll start one numerical, and while we'll solving one that particular numerical we'll use the highest code again and we'll go to that particular clauses. It will get more clear to you. Okay, this is only theory part that we have covered here, but in the next session we'll go with the numerical and it will get more clear picture to you. Okay, thank you.